No one remembers when Wagriwa Road first appeared on the maps. Some locals insist it was always there, just another unpaved offshoot winding through the hills of West Virginia. Others swear it didn't exist at all until people started disappearing. What everyone agrees on is this: if you've driven near it at night, you don't forget the feeling. The road where it begins has no streetlights, no reflective paint, no comforting glow from nearby homes. It cuts through a stretch of forest so dense that even moonlight struggles to reach the ground. During the day, it feels old and forgotten. At night, it feels deliberate, like something waiting. That's where the tow truck driver found himself one late autumn evening. His dispatcher had been vague. A car had slid into a ditch somewhere past the county line. The caller sounded shaken, but not injured. Just stuck. It was an easy job, the kind that barely registered as work anymore. He'd driven roads like this for years. Still, something felt off. As soon as he turned onto that stretch of asphalt, the trees leaned closer than usual, their branches arching overhead. The road narrowed subtly, as if it had been worn down by time rather than designed. There were no mile markers, no clear signs, just long curves and darkness pressing in from both sides. His headlights caught the edge of a billboard. At first, he barely noticed it. These hills were full of them. Rusted advertisements from another era. Old diners, gas stations that closed before he was born. Auto shops that never reopened after the last recession. But as he drew closer, his foot eased off the accelerator. The sing didn't match the others. The posts were straight. The wood wasn't splintered. The paint reflected his headlights cleanly. It looked... No, he passed it, and the words registered a heartbeat too late. Get? How wide? The phrase was repeated again and again, stacked vertically, each line identical. No logo, no image. Whose words harsh and unmistakable. Beneath them, centered at the bottom, Wagriwa Road. His hands tightened on the wheel. He checked his mirrors, half expecting the sign to be gone already. It wasn't. It stood there, solid and real, swallowed by darkness as he drove on. A mile later, he saw another one. Identical. Same lettering. Same clean wood. Same unsettling command. By the third sign, his stomach had begun to knot. Why here? Why now? Everything else along this road looked abandoned relics slowly collapsing into the forest. These signs looked like they'd been planted that morning. He slowed and pulled onto the shoulder. The NG idled. As he stepped out of the truck, the air was cold, sharp with the smell of wet leaves and earth. Standing directly in front of the billboard, he noticed details he'd missed before. The background wasn't plain. Behind the words was a photograph. A forest under a heavy gray sky. Leafless trees. Bare ground. No path. No people. And at the very bottom, almost lost in the shadows, a second line of text: find what you re. Looking for. He stared at it longer than he meant to. Find what? The question lingered, uncomfortably personal. He shook his head and reminded himself why he was here. Someone was waiting. Someone needed help. He climbed back into the truck and drove on. Less than a minute later, he slammed on the brakes. A rusted metal sign stood at the edge of the road ahead, crooked and barely reflective. Wagriwa Road. The gravel path branching off beside it was narrow, unlit, and clearly unused except for fresh tire marks pressed into the dirt. He sat there, engine running, weighing the choice. Just a look, he told himself. 30 seconds. The truck turned onto the gravel. The road twisted through the trees, bent twice, then stopped. No buildings, no fences, no sign of the stranded car. Just a dirt trail leading deeper into the forest. He shut off the engine. The silence rushed in. It wasn't the peaceful kind. It was heavy, expectant, the kind that made him suddenly aware of his own breathing. He reached under the seat, grabbed his flashlight, and stepped out. The beam cut across tree trunks and underbrush. Nothing moved. Then a voice spoke. Phil. His chest tightened. He hadn't heard that voice in years. A figure stepped onto the path, raising a hand against the light. As her face came into view, his mind rejected it outright. It was Sharon, his ex-wife. She looked exactly as she had the last day he saw her. Same coat, same tired smile, same eyes that once knew him better than anyone. "I was hoping you'd come," she said softly. His thoughts tangled. She'd moved across the country, remarried, started a new life. Knew that. "What are you doing here?" he asked. She didn't answer. Instead, she turned toward the trees. "Come on," she said. "I want to show you something." He hesitated only a moment before following. The trail narrowed, winding between trunks, leaves crunching underfoot. The flashlight bobbed in his hand, barely illuminating the ground ahead. He heard movement beside him, a faint rustle. But when he turned the light, there was nothing. They emerged into a clearing. Sharon stopped abruptly and raised a finger to her lips. "Be quiet," she whispered. "They'll hear you." Shapes moved at the edge of the clearing. Dia stepped into view. One, then another, then more. They moved slowly, deliberately, forming a wide circle. Their bodies were still, but their eyes reflected a pale glow that didn't match the flashlight. There were too many. "Turn off the light," Sharon said. His instinct screamed against it. Bate obeyed. Darkness swallowed the clearing. In that darkness, the eyes burned brighter. One of the deer stepped forward, smaller than the rest. It lowered its head, studying him. He crouched, heart pounding, and reached out a hand. And then the forest went silent. No one ever saw him again. Days later, his truck was found abandoned at the end of the gravel road. The engine was cold. The doors were unlocked. No footprints led away. Since then, people across the region have reported similar signs appearing overnight. Always clean, always new, standing where nothing should be. They never point the way. They never explain. They only offer a choice: get away, or find what you're looking for. And if you see them, it may already be too late.